Thanks everyone for joining. I'm just seeing, wow, we've got over 100 people on with us this evening. I think some of you know my story. I'm a three-time breast cancer survivor. I'm a crazy mom of four. But I definitely want to take time out to be with friends, and I think this is really important, especially in a pandemic. I do want to say a few words about Samantha Gladish, who is a holistic nutritionist, and she's a coach. She does podcasts, she does blogs, she's an author of the 30-Day Total Hormone Solution book, and I've read her book. I love it. It's very well worn and dog-eared. So I don't know what you don't do actually, because the recipes are amazing, and I don't know how you stay so slim. I really don't know. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you, Samantha.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here with everybody tonight. And I hope maybe you've dove into the 30-day hormone solution and have cooked your way through there. It is my book baby, and I have spent a lot of time creating the delicious recipes in there that are going to fuel your hormones and your health. Maybe some of you know me from my podcast, the Healthy Hormones for Women podcast, maybe over on Instagram at Holistic Wellness Foodie. But what I love to do is really help women just balance their hormones with delicious food. That's what I love. And that's what I'm all about. So I'm really excited to share some really great, valuable information with you tonight. All right. So let's talk about some of the things that impact your mood. We're probably familiar with things like sugar and stress, of course, right? Those are going to impact our mood, our hormones, our sleep, all of it. And I wanted to share some things that maybe you aren't aware of, how our hormones can play a role in our mood and certain neurotransmitters can play a role with our mood. So you're probably familiar with serotonin. It's the happy hormone. It impacts feelings of happiness and optimism. And in fact, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, those are all three happy hormones. And so dopamine impacts feelings of happiness and pleasure. And dopamine is really necessary for learning as well. This is a neurotransmitter slash hormone that gets produced in the liver. So it's really important to have a healthy liver and to be detoxing effectively. So if you have insulin resistance or diabetes or fatty liver disease, you might have issues with producing dopamine or sufficient amounts of dopamine that will impact, your happiness and pleasure centers in the brain. And then there's oxytocin. Many of you might be familiar with this as the love hormone, right? So there has been some research and some studies done that show during the honeymoon phase of a relationship, our oxytocin is at its highest. And there's another time where we get very high oxytocin, and that is with orgasms, ladies. So orgasms are not only going to be for supporting oxytocin, which impacts contentment, calmness, and anxiety, but it's also going to be amazing for cortisol and for stress management as well. So maybe that is going to be your take home from tonight. And then outside of that, testosterone. So we hear a lot about testosterone in regards to men and male hormonal health, but it impacts women as well. And testosterone has a direct impact on our energy and our sex drive and depression. And so we don't want high amounts of it. We just want the right amounts, the adequate amounts. And yes, as we age, a lot of these hormones do start to decline. So as we start to age, and even if once we start hitting our mid 30s, we can really start to have a lot of that hormonal decline start to happen. And then estrogen. Estrogen does have a direct impact on serotonin. It helps with that serotonin production. So again, we don't want estrogen too high or too low. We just want it in the right healthy amounts. And this is going to impact our drive and our energy. And like I mentioned, serotonin. And then there's progesterone. This will have a direct impact on anxiety, relaxation, and sleep. Now, you can't really have too much progesterone. There's really no such thing as that. My progesterone was actually off the charts when I did my Dutch test not too long ago. And that's actually okay. And I actually like to refer to progesterone as the fat cat hormone and estrogen as the sex kitten, because estrogen is what gives you that like juiciness and that sexiness. It makes you feel like Wonder Woman. And whereas progesterone is like that fat cat that wants to cuddle and like curl up on the couch and read a good book and have chocolate and just like be calm and relaxed. And that's what really helps balance your mood. So if we have too little progesterone, it will definitely impact our anxiety and our moods. And then thyroid, lastly. So this can really go either way with thyroid, either on the low side or the high side. If you have too low thyroid or too high, you can experience nervousness, anxiety, and depression. Especially with that high thyroid production, it can also cause your heart to race, and that's going to lead to more feelings of irritability and anxiousness. So all of these can really impact your mood. Now, what's really interesting is that our gut plays a role here as well. The mood and gut connection. So, serotonin is actually produced in the gut. A lot of these neurotransmitters need a healthy gut. Okay. So, your microbiome has a direct influence on your neurotransmitters, which directly impact stress, how resilient you are against stress, on your anxiety, your mood, behavior. It really does impact that. And your gut and your brain are communicating all day long. Your gut and your brain, there's nutrient delivery that's happening there. Your microbiome is, and the bacteria in your gut is playing a role on certain nutrients and minerals and vitamins and hormones that are getting produced. And so we really want to support and optimize our gut. So I want to talk about dysbiosis real quick. This is just a fancy word, basically for saying imbalance in good and healthy, good and bad bacteria, essentially. Okay, an imbalance between the types of organism present in a person's natural microflora, especially that of the gut, thought to contribute to a range of conditions of ill health. Okay, that's just the fancy way of saying dysbiosis. So we have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria in our gut, okay? And we're going to talk about some of the things that can really impact that bad bacteria and cause it to grow and grow and grow. And we don't want that, okay? We really want to support that good bacteria, which has a direct impact on nutrients, on B vitamins, on neurotransmitters, on serotonin, on dopamine, on all of those. So we really want to be supporting the microbiome, okay? And some really cool stats that I pulled up that I wanted to share with you, because I think we undermine how big of an impact our gut can have on our overall health. And so I wanted to share these with you so that maybe you can have a bit of an aha moment, a bit of a light bulb moment. So your microbiome and your health. There's some really cool stats showing that a lower amount of certain bacteria, so Fecocalibacterium, is associated with more severe depression. And also probiotics, taking them can actually lessen anxiety and improve feelings of well-being, which is amazing. And then there's also been some really cool MRI findings showing that in regions of the brain crucial in emotional processing are enhanced after taking probiotics. So that's really cool. You're literally taking your probiotics, and then there's these MRI findings that are really showing different areas of the brain lighting up that play a role in emotional processing, which I think is really fascinating. Also, specific probiotics can significantly decrease anxiety-like behavior in rats and reduce psychological distress in humans. Altering gut flora has been shown to decrease stress response and improve overall feelings of well-being. And then lastly here, higher levels of a Lactobacillus rhamnosus, this certain bacteria in the gut, can increase the number of GABA receptors. And I love this because GABA is an amazing neurotransmitter. You can actually supplement with GABA. We're going to talk about that later on. And this is a neurotransmitter that can curb anxiety. So when you have those moments of anxiety, of irritability, maybe there's like shortness of breath, your heart is racing, you have some emotional instability, and you feel anxious, GABA is where it's going to be, that GABA is going to come in here and be your best friend. Okay, so you can improve your gut health and mood with food. And I'm so excited to talk about food because I love recipe development. And I mean, more than that, I love eating. And I never want anyone to feel deprived when it comes to food. There's some things I might share tonight that you might not want to hear and love to hear. But there's, I'm going to, flip the switch here. I'm going to show you the bad things we want to avoid and then also talk about the really good things we want to include. Okay. So there are bad mood foods and these are the ones that we really want to avoid. So of course, I'm kicking it off here with sugar, right? Refined sugar. I actually celebrated my birthday last week and my fiance as well. And then it was Mother's Day. It was a lot. It was 3 days of cake and leftovers and all of that. So there are times when, yes, I indulge, but it's what I do most of the time that counts. It's what you do most of the time that counts. And refined sugar is going to cause that bad bacteria to grow and grow and grow. It's also going to have a direct impact on your insulin and your blood sugar levels. And as that goes up, that can actually lead to more feelings of anxiety and irritability. It's also going to increase your cravings. So something we want to be really conscious of. If you've ever cooked any of my recipes or baked up anything, I use monk fruit or stevia, and that will not impact your blood sugar. So there are alternatives out there for you. White flour and gluten. I know, another one that maybe you're like, no, don't take it away from me. But gluten can really impact the gut. It can really destroy the lining in your gut. And it also is very interesting with gluten. It has some certain protein structures that look very similar to your thyroid gland. And so what ends up happening is that your body goes to attack gluten, but it can't differentiate. Is this gluten? Is this the thyroid gland? I don't know. I'm going to attack both. And so it can really start to impact your thyroid. And then if you start having issues with the thyroid, low thyroid, or high thyroid function, you are going to experience perhaps some of that heart racing, which can lead to more irritability, more mood instability, more anxiousness. So we really want to be conscious with that. I know a lot of people that when they eat gluten, their mood is directly impacted. Like 24 hours later, if not 12 hours later. And I'd love to hear from anyone in the chat if you've noticed that with yourself, because I know with Gaetan, my fiance, he is he's directly impacted. Like his mood, he gets grumpy when he eats gluten. And then of course, we want to be conscious of just like white flour in general, because this is breaking down into sugar. This is breaking down into glucose in your body. And then now it's having a direct impact on your blood sugar. And then it's having an impact on your cortisol. And then your stress will go up. And your cortisol and your insulin actually communicate to each other. And so if you have issues with insulin, that's driving your cortisol up, and cortisol and insulin are both fat storing hormones. So we really want to be conscious of that. Okay. Hydrogenated oils. Now, I have a challenge for everybody here. If anybody has Basil in their fridge, I want you to go take it out of your fridge. I want you to take the lid off of it. I want you to go outside on your porch or in your backyard. And I just want you to take that tub and leave it outside and come back to it like 2 or 3 weeks later. There will not be one bug or anything that has gone near it. And that just goes to show you that nature does not like that. It is not a natural process. This is a very factory made product. And we want to eat healthy fats, grass-fed butter, ghee, coconut oil, olive oil. These are amazing for you. And they come from nature. This is real food. It's not a factory, a manufactured product. Okay. And so also with oils, we want to really be conscious of really high omega-6 oils like safflower, sunflower, canola, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, which I don't really see very often, but we really want to be conscious with those. They're higher omega-6, and that omega-6 is very pro-inflammatory, so it can increase inflammation in the body. So we really want to be conscious of that. Also, these fats fuel our brain. So if we want to focus and feel like very emotionally stable and have healthy like memory, and it, which our brain also plays a direct impact role with our moods, our anxiety, our sleep, like it governs all of that. So how are you fueling your brain? Are you fueling them with these manufactured fats, or are you eating real fats that come from nature? Okay, now who's going to take me on the challenge? I'd love to hear from you if you're going to do that. That would be amazing. Let me know in the chat box. That would be a really fun challenge to take on. Take your pictures and even send them to me on Instagram. Okay, coffee. I love my coffee. I typically drink decaf, and sometimes I will have a full calf. I really like mushroom coffee. And coffee actually does have some really great antioxidants and really great benefits to it, but we want to be conscious of quality, ideally looking for something that's organic, just because coffee can be produced with a lot of pesticides and herbicides. So we really want to be conscious of that. But from an anxiety perspective, it's going to be very stimulating. If you're already a very anxious person and then you drink coffee, which is going to stimulate your adrenaline and your cortisol, that could just add to feelings of anxiousness. So being really conscious about how much coffee you're drinking. Also, if you have a lot of stress going on, coffee could really, play a role with, again, your adrenaline and your cortisol, and then you're just spiking these adrenal hormones, and you're never really truly giving your adrenals the ability to truly heal. So we just got to be conscious of that. When are you drinking your coffee? What time of day? Is it impacting your sleep? Maybe you're drinking too late in the day. I always encourage you to drink it earlier in the day. Maybe try having it as part of a meal, and don't try and like graze on your coffee and just drink it all day long. Yeah, so I love my coffee. And I'm sure there's many people here too that love their coffee as well, but just sourcing out some really good, better quality and just not overdoing it. And maybe it might be time for a bit of a coffee detox. If you're feeling really anxious, if your moods are really unstable, if you're not sleeping very well, maybe it's time to just call it quits for, a week or two, just to see how you feel. Okay. So it's worth testing that out. Okay, next up, processed meats. Okay, so curing, salting, smoking. There's a lot of chemical preservatives in these meats, and a lot of those chemical preservatives can be actually very excitatory in the brain. So we really want to be conscious here. And actually, there's been some really great companies. I don't know if anybody here is like local to where I am, but there's a store here, Nature's Emporium, where I love to shop at, and they have an amazing selection of meats. And even their like deli has all grass-fed organic, and it's really fantastic. And that's been hard to find when it comes to like certain deli meat. So there is better quality out there, and there are companies really conscious of how they're producing these products. So just being really conscious of how much your consumption is with these. The quality, again, here plays a really big role. And they've also been linked to issues with heart disease, with cancer. There's been a lot of research around that. So just being really conscious, again, with your consumption, the quality, and also pay attention to when you do eat it, how do you feel? Because again, some of those chemical preservatives that are used here, like I said, can be very excitatory and can impact mood and can impact your anxiety. So really just paying attention to that, how you're feeling mood wise when you eat not just processed meats, but any of the things that I've mentioned here. Okay, really pay attention to that. It might even be worth doing like a food and mood journal. So you could just pay attention to like how you're feeling with certain things, with certain foods and certain ingredients. Okay, next up, alcohol. I'm sure I'm getting to a point in this webinar where you guys aren't liking me very much. So alcohol, it interrupts your body's ability to regulate your mood. So we really want to be conscious with how much alcohol we're consuming. I know back in my 20s, I was a bartender. So I drank more alcohol back then, but I really don't drink any now. It's really, really, really limited. And I might have something around like the holidays or something like that. But I had cut it out for quite some time. I just got to a point where I found I was very reactive to it. I would get migraines. I would wake up the next day with very puffy eyes and like just redness, like inflamed skin. And I just got to a point where I said, you know what? I'm just not going to drink anymore. And I thought a 30-day alcohol detox was going to do it. It ended up being an 8-month alcohol detox. And so 8 months later, I had a glass of wine, and guess what? I had the worst migraine. So it just wasn't for me anymore. But when you're choosing alcohol, sometimes like those real like sugary alcoholic drinks, like being conscious of that, being conscious of how much you're consuming, right? Like I said, it can really interrupt your body's ability to regulate mood. But not only that, like it has a direct impact on your liver. And your liver is your main detoxifying organ. Your liver metabolizes your hormones. So it's going to have a direct impact on how your body's detoxing, on how your body is breaking down hormones. And all of that is going to have a direct impact on your moods, on your cycles, on your sleep, all of it. So really paying attention to how alcohol, is impacting you. And also, I wanted to mention here too, it does have an impact on your heart. Of course, it can increase high blood pressure, which is a big one. But alcohol is very estrogenic. So if you have estrogen dominance, and you have estrogen dominant type symptoms, so maybe you have heavier flows, a lot of PMS like cramping, breast tenderness and breast swelling around your cycle, something to really pay attention to here, because alcohol, like I said, it's very estrogenic, and it can increase estrogen in the body. Same with coffee, actually. Coffee can be very estrogenic. So I've also noticed this for myself. If I drink too much coffee, like a week or two leading up to my period, I have the worst breast tenderness. So I just make sure not to do that anymore. And I don't have those symptoms. So coffee can really impact that. So pay attention to those symptoms and if they're showing up for you. Okay. And then chocolate. I love chocolate. I know Tanya loves it too. This is her recipe. And so I'm not telling you not to eat it. I'm just telling you the quality here really matters. So Tanya, tell us about this delicious recipe you have here.
Well, first of all, just practically speaking, I do tend to want to snack sometimes. So I keep a Ziploc with my homemade chocolate in my purse and in my car. And I just want to say it's pretty easy to make. Recipes I find very complicated, but if you just put your chocolate, hopefully it's fair trade organic if you can get it, put it in the double boiler, and make sure once it's melted, about half of it is going to be your favorite seeds, nuts, and dried fruit. I love apricot and dried cranberry if you can find the sugar-free one. And so it's chock full of goodness. And then you just pour it out on a pan, and you're going to break it up later. So I actually meant to bring some with me. It's in the fridge right now, but I'm not too snacky. It's all right. The other things about chocolate are, you mentioned, things like serotonin and dopamine. Chocolate helps with these things. It helps with your endorphins, and it helps with anandamide, which is considered the bliss molecule, and phenylphalalamine, which is considered the love drug. So,
Amazing.
yeah, that's about it. I think we're going to go to another poll now.
Yeah, we actually are. We're going to dive into sleep.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Sleep. If everybody can click on the poll and let us know, how has the quality of your sleep been lately? Pretty good. I get a solid 7+ hours every night. It's so so. I get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Not so good. I can fall asleep, but once I wake up in the middle of the night, I can't fall back asleep. And I think you could probably categorize that for people who can't fall asleep. They would go into that third category as well. So we've got over 160 people on right now, and looks like all the answers are piling in.
I love it. Okay, end poll.
Okay, here we go. Let's look at these results. Oh, okay, this isn't looking so good. We've got about 40% of people in the not so good for sleep category. So I think we really have to jump to this section. I'll leave it to you, Sam.
For sure, for sure. Thank you everybody for taking time to answer that. I really appreciate it. And so listen up, ladies, because we need you getting really good sleep. If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. Okay. And sleep it's so essential for so many different reasons. While you're sleeping, your body is detoxing. It's resting, of course, it's repairing. There's cellular renewal that is happening overnight. You are lowering inflammation. You're supporting your insulin and your cortisol, right? So your blood sugar as well as stress hormones. You're impacting digestion. It has a direct impact on digestion, allowing you to rest and digest your food. Hormone health and cognitive health as well. So sleep is really, really essential here. And I know for myself back in 2017, when I first had my Hashimoto's diagnosis, sleep was the one area that was just not, it was not existent. Basically, I couldn't sleep. It was the one thing that was so impacted, and of course I felt exhausted, of course I felt crappy because I couldn't get really good sleep. And that was the one area that I had to put all of my energy and just make it my priority, because I knew that if I could just get that in check, then I'm going to start feeling better. So how lack of sleep impacts your health, and there's numerous things here. So you actually have a 50% higher risk of obesity if you get less than 5 hours of sleep a night. 3 to 5 years, how much sleep deprivation can age your brain, which is really significant there. You are 3 times more likely to catch a cold, and of course, it's going to lower your immune response. There is a 48% increase in developing heart disease. You are at 3 times the risk for developing type 2 diabetes. There is a 33% increase in dementia risk. And of course, you're going to have more cravings for sweet, salty, and starchy food. So, who here has ever been exhausted, sleep deprived, stressed, and has said to themselves, "Oh, I just really want a kale salad"? Probably nobody, right? You are probably like, give me a glass of wine, give me a slice of pizza, give me that bowl of pasta. Like, that's just what I want to eat, right? Or give me the bag of chips. That's what happens when you're not getting good sleep. Your cortisol levels are going to be impacted. Your insulin levels are going to be impacted, and that's all going to lead to more cravings. And then that begins a really nasty cycle, right? Because we're exhausted, we can't sleep. Now we're craving sweet and starchy and salty and all of that. So we're reaching for more of that. And the more of that we eat, the more of that we want. And then that exacerbates more of our anxiety, our moods, our PMS, our weight, our brain fog, all of the things, our digestion, right? Our inflammation. And it just begins a really nasty cycle. So focusing on sleep is so essential. That one thing alone, just sleep alone is really going to improve your health in such a big way. And then, of course, it's going to put you at a risk for anxiety, depression, forgetfulness, and irritability. Okay. I know that back in my 20s, like I could go and party all night and then literally come home at 7 in the morning, get dressed, and go to work for 9 o'clock. I can't do that now. It's like 10 o'clock. No, like I'm winding down at maybe 8:30, putting my phone away. I'm setting really healthy boundaries at night. And just one night of not having good sleep, I feel it. I definitely feel it. Whereas again, maybe back in my 20s, you could be a little bit more resilient and handle that. But as you get older, your body can't handle that. You're actually just not as resilient because of so many hormonal fluctuations that happen. Okay, so moving on. An honorable mention here is stress. Okay. I've mentioned it a few times throughout the webinar. Stress is going to lead to more anxiety, which can be a feeling of fear, worry, or unease. And there are so many important things to identify here as stressors. There's so many different things that can be causing us stress, right? It can be work, it can be bills and finances, it can be our boss at work and the to-do list. And there's so many things here when it comes to stress. And I think it's really important that we talk about this briefly so that you have a bit of an understanding of how it's truly impacting you. So I think we have our last poll here. Tanya, you want to dive in here? We have a stress poll.
Okay, yes, I have known stress in my life and I still do. So, how much do your stress levels affect your day to day? It's a big disturbance. I feel like I'm constantly under chronic levels of stress. Help. Or I experience some level of stress, but I manage it okay. I don't have much stress in my life. And I'm going to come visit you and have a cup of tea with you and figure out what you're doing. Okay, I think we're pretty much there. Okay, we're gonna get the results now.
Oh, wow. Look, 8 people. I don't have much stress in my life.
Okay.
Lovely.
Out of 164 people, we're gonna come visit you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good news here is that 64 people, majority of people experience some level of stress, but you're managing it well, which is really great. So I commend you and acknowledge you for that. And for those of you who aren't and you are under significant stress, we're going to share some really great strategies for you. Now, number one for you would be the sleep. Okay, you got to sleep. That's going to really help with your stress and your cortisol levels. Okay, so going back here, let's talk about cortisol because cortisol gets a really bad rap and we need cortisol. In fact, without it, we wouldn't be alive. And so cortisol is so essential to our overall health and our well-being. It's a very smart, no nonsense hormone. But there's a lot of things that can impact our cortisol and cause it to really be elevated. So there can be chronic infections. We might have physical stress, such as a trauma or pain. Poor nutrition is going to cause elevated cortisol levels. Psychological stress is going to cause cortisol to go up. High blood sugar, chronic inflammation, environmental toxicity can play a really big role here. Now, of course, there can be toxicity through food that we eat, but environmentally, there's a lot of toxins that we just can't avoid. We're going to walk outside of our door and there's just pollution and cars and whatnot. Like we're going to be bombarded with that. But there's also toxicity that we can control, right? The food that we eat, our thoughts and our mental health and what we're thinking, the stories we tell ourselves, and then also things like beauty care, makeup, our cleaning products, all of that we really want to be conscious of, and it can really play a role when it comes to our cortisol and our adrenal health. And so what ends up happening is over time, if we have this chronic stress and this chronic high cortisol, it can lead to things like high blood sugar, high blood pressure, insomnia, hypothyroidism, poor digestion, decreased immune function, and constipation, and start really impacting the gut and bowels. So it really is very significant. And so we really have to find ways to manage stress and implement self-care. And so what's not normal, because, and I really want to chat about this briefly, because I think so many of us get to this point where we just accept the symptoms that are showing up, and perhaps even your medical professional has told you, oh, that's just a part of aging. Like, yeah, that's just what happens as you get older, right? And no, that's not the case. Don't accept that, right? So having anxiety, having the 3 a.m. wake ups and the sleep disturbances and falling asleep but not staying asleep, or having crying spells and emotional outbursts, not feeling like yourself, feeling like you're consumed by sugar and carb and salt cravings. If you're having troubles with losing or gaining weight, decreased immune function, poor concentration and brain fog, low mood, these aren't normal, ladies. And I can understand if you're feeling this way. I can understand it, but let's fix it. I want you to know that it's fixable and that it doesn't have to be your new norm. Okay. So it's not normal. There are so many things that we can do to really support and address a lot of these symptoms and issues that are showing up for you. So let's talk about hormonal balance. I've mentioned it a few times, of course. Your nutrient needs change as your body adjusts through different cycles of life. And I thought it was important to mention this here because we have women who are on here that maybe range anywhere from their 20s all the way to their 60s and maybe beyond, right? And so, based on where we are in our cycle of life, whether we're menstruating or whether we're postmenopausal, or maybe we are on a fertility journey or pregnant, our nutrient needs are going to change. And so, these are some key supportive nutrients that can benefit you based on, where you are in terms of your age. You will see a lot of similarities here across the board. Vitamin D on every single one. I think magnesium is here on almost every single one, but there's a lot here. And so, Tanya, I know that you have been on your own journey with hormones, and especially having kids as well. I know we were talking earlier about hormones and the nutrients they need. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think my daughter doesn't mind me mentioning she's 19, so she's pretty close to that 20 to 35 range. And she's definitely taking all of those supplements. But before we realized she needed them, she was so low energy, very moody, reclusive, like, yeah, just it really has helped once we got those things up into the normal range in her blood. Now I'm in the third category, almost in the fourth category. I'm 51 and I'm definitely taking all of those things. I had a blood test done not too long ago, and it showed actually that my magnesium was good, my zinc was good, my D was good, but CoQ10 and B12 were actually on the low side. And I supplement with Bs, my B complex, our Synergy B, and our ubiquinol Q10, but I was still on the low side. So now I just know that I have to up it a little bit. So you might want to get a full blood panel done as part of maybe your annual physical. Unfortunately, now you have to mask up and be really careful about it. But it was good for me because I do find that my energy is a little bit better now that I'm supplementing in those areas more.
That's awesome. That's really great. Well, I'm still in the first category. No, I'm not. That's a lie. I'm not. I am in the second category. And those are all of my best friends: magnesium, iron, B vitamins, vitamin D3, CoQ10. Now, of course, with the time of year and more sunshine, I'm definitely getting outside more. So getting more of that vitamin D. But, I really, just a note here on the vitamin D, and we're going to talk about that later too. Um, it's really important to get your vitamin D levels tested, because it's crazy how much sun you actually might think you're exposed to, but how little your vitamin D levels go up. So getting it tested can really be helpful because it can really help you to determine the dosing that you really need there for your vitamin D. Okay, well, thanks so much, Tanya, for sharing about that. We're going to dive into strategies of how you can actually take back control, right? I'm sure we all want to take back control of our health, and there's a way that we want to feel. There's maybe a way we want to look. And what do we do, right? What can we actually do to heal? And how can we keep calm and confident and in control and keep our cortisol levels in check? So there's lots of things that we can do here. Of course, we're going to start with food first. Nutrition is so important. What we eat is essential. And carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These are your main three macronutrients, okay? And these are just examples here that are put up on the screen. Of course, there's so many more examples beyond this, but this is so essential. And when it comes to carbohydrates, we really want to be conscious of eating more of those like vegetables, right? Eating vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, because I think we forget that those are actually carbohydrates. Swapping more of the starchier things for like sweet potato or plantain or, different types of squashes. They're so readily available. They're delicious. They're loaded with so much nutrition. That they're bright and colorful, which right away shows you how much antioxidants and nutrition is in there. So trying to swap out some of those more refined carbohydrates with the more starchier and the non-starchier veggies. Of course, fruits are going to be great options as well. Beans, lentils, peas, those contain both carbohydrates and protein. And then protein is really essential, really, really essential. Your protein breaks down into amino acids, and those amino acids go on to build your neurotransmitters, your serotonin, your dopamine, your oxytocin, GABA. All of these neurotransmitters need amino acids. So when it comes to our moods, when it comes to anxiety, something to think about is, am I eating enough protein? And also maintaining muscle mass. Protein is so essential. As we age, our cellular ability to handle insulin declines. And so we really want to make sure that we are not overdoing it with carbohydrates and balancing out our blood sugar and insulin levels with good amounts of protein and fats. Okay. And then, of course, fats, they're so essential. Your hormones need fat to function. So we're throwing out the Bacell. In fact, we're just putting it in the backyard and seeing if any animals or raccoons or insects are going to come to it. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to replace it with some of these really good options. Okay. I'm obsessed with olives. Is anybody else? I could just eat them like out of the jar. They're so, so good for you. And they fuel your brain as well. So food first, always. Okay. And then hydration, so important. We often neglect the importance of water and how powerful water can really be for us. So I can't remember which episode number it was on my podcast, but there was an episode that we did on hyperhydration and focusing on really hyperhydrating. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 liters. I'm talking about like 5, 6+ liters. And what happens if you drink that amount and you do that for a week? Yes, you're going to be peeing a lot for sure, but you're going to be detoxing. You're going to be increasing energy. You're going to be supporting digestion. You're going to be lubricating your joints and lowering inflammation. And you're actually going to fuel your brain. So it's so essential to hydrate and really drink more water. So always with my clients, it's always at around that 3 to 4 liter mark that I always want them to aim for, if not higher. And especially like I talk a lot for a living. I'm presenting a lot. I'm on client calls a lot. So I need to hydrate even more because my throat gets really, really dry just from that talking. So something to think about as well. And then also the hunger and the hydration signals, sometimes we can confuse them. We think we're hungry, but we're actually really thirsty. And we're just, we're not getting enough of that water in. So something to consider, really hydrating and maybe getting that amount that you're currently drinking. Maybe you want to double that and see how that feels. Rest, so essential. Okay. Your sleep. I'm like a sleep nerd. I love my sleep so, so much. I'm also not an early riser. That does not work for me. I wake up maybe around like 8:30. That is when I start typically my day. In fact, with the sun, I would say in the past 6 weeks, I probably wake up around 7:30 now. It's just been a natural transition. That's what happens. And then more like in the fall, winter months, I find it's more like 8:30. So there's about an hour difference there between the different seasons for me. And I definitely notice that. So sleep is essential. Like I said earlier, if you're not sleeping, you're not healing. So I really want you to create healthy boundaries around your sleep. I want you to have a regular sleep routine, and I want you to honor that routine every day, even on the weekends. Also, a little tidbit is exposing yourself to natural sunlight sets your circadian rhythm. So if you want to support that melatonin production, the sleepy hormone at night, you actually need to expose yourself to light during the day. So if you're indoors a lot, try and make it a point to get outside, especially in the morning. And your eyes, like really your eyes need to be exposed to the light with no sunglasses on. Okay. So that's really essential, and maybe something that you want to take on as your takeaway during this from this webinar. And then movement, so important. We want to be moving daily, and movement is different than exercise. I think a lot of us think like, oh, I got to exercise, I got to go to the gym, I have to lift weights. And absolutely, I'm all for lifting weights because it's one of the best things you can do for supporting bone density. And of course, it's going to help with muscle mass and how you're burning through your food and calories and whatnot. But just movement, maybe it's dance, hiking, walking, taking your dog for a walk. Movement is so essential. And yes, I see you dancing over there, Tanya. And so I really want you to just move your body, do what feels good. Maybe it's a dance class, or maybe it's yoga, maybe it's Pilates, maybe it's barre, which I really, really love lately. So something to really consider and making it more of a priority. And then, of course, nature, getting outside in nature. I love these pictures of you, Tanya, and I'm so jealous of where you live because I know this is near you and it's so beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, well, I never used to have access to forests, and I think a lot of people don't. I gotta try to speak up. People are telling me I'm too quiet, and I do tend to speak quietly. It's except when I'm angry at certain little ones. So what I used to do is just have my indoor plants that I would smell and stroke and talk to and de-stress with my indoor plants. And then eventually I would be walking my kids to the school bus, and on the way home, I would just, on my way, I would find like bushes and flowers and go up and smell things and touch things and hug a tree. And now I live in the countryside. So as you can see, I get out a lot more into the forest, and there are studies that say that the the air that you're breathing from the forestry, from the plants, you actually get an immune boost. So that there's actually a research study about that. And as you can see on there, it's the link to the cortisol levels is that it's actually helping you to de-stress. So do what you can, either with your house plants or the forest, but definitely get out there.
Oops.
Okay, yeah, we're going to get into some supplements now. This is the one that's closest to the forest for me. So, especially in winter, you just open it up and it's a lovely green powder. It's kind of creamy, aquatine, and it's from duckweed. And duckweed grows on ponds, so it just does make me feel like a little bit of the forest coming to my mug or my shaker cup, my shake. I like it in the morning. I like it warm. I like it cold. So, and as you can see, there's a lot of good things about it. One thing I really love about aquatine is the amount of lutein in it, which is, it's got such a huge amount of lutein that it's really protecting your eyes. And especially if you're doing a lot of screen time these days, that's a really good product. Okay. Oh, D3, vitamin D3. Of course, we talked about this a lot. Um, the thing about vitamin D is once it goes down, it takes a very long time to come back into the normal range. So if you've let your D slip in winter, your doctor's probably going to have you taking some higher doses for a little while and then scaling down to your regular 1,000 a day. Some doctors will have you higher than that, but that's not for me to decide. But definitely, as summer's winding down, you're getting less sunshine. Make sure you are taking your vitamin D. Oh, adrenal chill. So I've taken it twice today already. And this product is simply two ingredients. So ashwagandha, which is the world's best-selling supplement, actually. It's a root. And ashwagandha may be hard to say, but we like it because we've actually found a form of it that is just really unique and very, very effective with a lot of studies, called KSM 66. And we pair it with L-tyrosine. Sorry, what am I saying?
Yeah, L-theanine, right?
Sorry,
Yeah.
L-theanine. L-tyrosine is also good for all the stress.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
but L-theanine actually calms your thought process. So it's not going to drive you crazy or anything like that. It's just going to really help you to focus and calm down, and all those crazy thoughts and all the panics, it just brings you right down to the moment. So I had my cortisol checked recently. Adrenal chill is helping with the cortisol levels, and what happened is when you wake up in the morning, your cortisol is naturally high, and then it sort of goes down through the day. Well, my cortisol was above normal first thing in the morning. So my naturopath wants me to take my adrenal chill first thing in the morning. So I'm taking it on an empty stomach. If it's a more stressful day, I take two. If it's not that stressful, I take one. But I'm making sure that my cortisol is coming more into the normal range in that kind of stressful morning time.
That's amazing. I love this product so much. I use it every day as well. And just like a note here too, it does help with that T4 to T3 conversion, ladies. So especially because thyroid is really important for me with autoimmune Hashimoto's, supporting that T4 to T3. T4 is your inactive thyroid, T3 is your active thyroid, and ashwagandha can actually help with that conversion. So you're getting two birds with one stone essentially here. You're supporting adrenals and you're supporting thyroid. So that's why I love it so much.
Amazing.
All right, let's talk about GABA. I love GABA. I mentioned it earlier. It is an amazing neurotransmitter, relieves anxiety, improves sleep, reduces depression, supports focus, decreases inflammation. And this is a 500 milligram dose, which is really amazing. So this could be something to literally keep in your pocket when you are at work, because you can take it in the moment when you are finding perhaps some like irritability and anxiousness come up. So it's, really good for stress and relaxation. It's not necessarily going to make you fall asleep. However, if you're new to using GABA, I would try it at home first just to see how you feel, because the last thing you want to do is like fall asleep at your desk and be unproductive at work or something. So just something to test and try out for yourself, but it really is fantastic. 5-HTP, one of my absolute favorites, and this is also combined with some other cofactors like magnesium and B6. So this really does help promote a healthy sleep cycle. And again, because I'm such like a sleep nerd and I'm all over my sleep and I really want to make that a big priority of mine, I take my 5-HTP at night. So I take this along with my magnesium. It's great for balancing moods. And I will say that for me, after ovulation, there can be some mood instability that shows up for me. And since taking 5-HTP, that is non-existent anymore. Like I feel super calm and cool and collected. And I really thank that to my 5-HTP. So I've been using that regularly. And the thing with 5-HTP too, which is great, you can kind of build it up in your system. So you might take it for 2 or 3 months and then you may not need it for a little while, which is actually really great. L-glutamine, one of my favorites. I add this into my shakes. This is probably one, when you asked earlier the icebreaker question about what goes in your smoothies, Tanya, L-glutamine always goes in my smoothies. So I love it so much. It balances blood sugar. It's an amazing amino acid, supports cognition, muscle mass. So you may hear about taking L-glutamine, after a workout because it can help with some of that muscle recovery. But it's really great for healing the lining of the gut. So we spoke earlier about the connection between your mood and gut health and your microbiome. And if you have a lot of digestive issues going on and any gut issues going on, L-glutamine might be really, really powerful for you to take because it really does help with healing the lining of the gut. So if there's any inflammatory issues going on there, L-glutamine can be really powerful for that. And as a little tidbit, if you have a lot of sugar cravings, take about a teaspoon or so of L-glutamine. It's pretty tasteless. It's just a white powder. Put it on your tongue and let it dissolve and see what happens with your sugar cravings. You may need to start increasing the dose a few times. Maybe 1 teaspoon isn't enough. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4. You just have to play around with the dosing and try that out. But it works wonders for a lot of our clients and something you can literally use like on the spot, which is fantastic. Probiotics, another favorite and so essential for maintaining good digestion, supporting your immune system. It helps to improve neurotransmitter balance. We spoke about this earlier, how certain bacteria in the gut actually play a direct role with anxiety and mood, and this is why we want to supplement with our probiotics. And so it's also going to be essential for mental health, because your gut, as you may have heard, is like your second brain, right? And it communicates with your brain. And so your probiotics are so essential. Of course, you can eat probiotics too, in addition to supplementing. Things like kimchi and sauerkraut and fermented foods are going to be really great as well. You're just not going to get maybe as high enough as a dose. So if you're really looking for something more therapeutic, that's where supplementing with it is going to be really, really essential. And so this one is oh yeah, this one is shelf stable, which is really great too. So if you're traveling or anything like that, or if you're in your car a lot too, and there's a time of day in the afternoon that it makes sense for you to take this, you don't have to keep it in the fridge. Keep it out of direct sunlight, but it is shelf stable, which is great. Synergy B, and this also has some L-theanine, which is very calming and really supportive for moods. Synergy B is great for PMS and hormones. In fact, B vitamins are involved in every neurological process in your body. And B5 is great for stress. B6 is great for women's cycles. B12 is great for energy. I mean, they're involved in so many different processes. Your B vitamins are essential for actually supporting the production of serotonin, that happy hormone that I spoke about earlier. So your B vitamins are really key. And when we're stressed, we deplete a lot of our B vitamins. So we end up peeing them out, and we need them, right? So we want to really supplement with them if we have a lot of stress going on. So maybe something like the adrenal chill combined with Synergy B could be a really good combination for you, because stress eats up a lot of those Bs. So really essential. And then magnesium. This is a woman's best friend. Yes, if you are not taking your magnesium, maybe you've been living under a rock, but you have got to get some magnesium in. It is a magic mineral. And when you take magnesium, your body takes like this sigh of relief. It is so good for anxiety, so good for mood, so good for sleep, for PMS cramping, irritability, your nervous system, for gut health and keeping you regular. So if you have issues with constipation and you're feeling backed up, magnesium can be really helpful for that. Like I said earlier, I take my 5-HTP with my magnesium at night about 30 to 40 minutes before bed, and I've never missed my magnesium. I don't think I have missed a dose in like 5 or 6 years. Yeah, it is my go-to. I absolutely love it. Now, you could take it during the day. There's nothing wrong with that. I just like it at night. Again, something you might want to play around with and test a little bit, because, it might make you a little like sleepy, but probably not, but still everybody could be different. So maybe you play around with that a little bit. If you have a lot of cramping and irritability around your cycle, I would like double up your dose and do some during the day and again at nighttime. So just play around with that a little bit. And then omega-3 fatty acids. This is a really great dose here, 4,400 milligrams of combined with your EPA and your DHA. It's a really high dose, and that is fantastic because this fuels your brain. We were talking about fats earlier and how essential they are to supporting your hormones, to supporting and fueling your brain. Your brain needs fats. Your brain is 60 to 70% fat. So how are you fueling that brain? Okay. And also heart health. It plays a really big role here. There's been research showing that taking omega-3 fish oils can actually lower your chances of getting a heart attack by 50%. And there's no pharmaceutical on the market that can actually do that for you. So this is so fantastic. Anti-inflammatory, supporting gut health, joint health, heart health, hormones, brain, all of it. So it's really a very well-rounded product for sure. And then lastly, healthy mood. So of course we're talking a lot about mood today. And if you're like, well, I want to take 5-HTP and I want to take GABA and I want to take magnesium, I want to take all these things, this actually combines pretty much all of that into one. So you're getting 100 milligrams of 5-HTP, you're also getting GABA, and this contains saffron, which is really unique. There's been a lot of amazing research showing the benefits of saffron in reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety. So I have a bet. I bet that in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to start hearing a lot about saffron. Every year there's like the new superfood, the new thing. And saffron, we're going to start hearing a lot about it because there's been some really amazing research. So this is going to be really great for mood regulation as well as sleep, great for anxiety and just really keeping your body sort of calm, cool, and collected. All right, and what else do we have up here? And this is actually brand new. This is a new product from CanPrep. So I'm excited to give it a try too. Being that I take all these things separately, it might make sense to just take it all in one. All right, ladies. I want to make sure I didn't skip anything there. Sorry. Oh, yep, we're good. Okay. So we are coming to an end here. I know we've gone over time for just a few minutes, so I really appreciate you staying on. We would love to know, what is the one thing you will do for yourself after this webinar to improve your mood, anxiety, or your sleep, or maybe all of it? And we're going to go to some Q&A. There's so many conversations going on in the chat box. I love it so much. Thank you, everybody. There's been so many great things, and I know I missed some of it here, but I so appreciate you sharing with us. I'm going to try and go through some of these questions here. Okay. Julia, hi Samantha. I wonder if you know why some people have opposite effect from coffee. I'm a tea person. If I ever drink coffee, I almost instantly want to go to sleep. Thank you. Yeah, that's actually a really great question, because maybe genetically you process and metabolize your caffeine really, really, really well. So it doesn't actually energize you. It might actually do the opposite. So I'd be curious, maybe there is like a genetic disposition there with how you react to coffee. Marianne, if you were to do 5 to 6 liters per day, do you need to take anything else at the same time? Maybe salt? Oh yeah, that's a great question. I always encourage having really good quality salt in your diet. That is really essential. You could definitely put a pinch of sea salt. I like the real salt. It's like the Redmond real salt. I like putting a pinch of that into my water. Because yeah, you'll get some really good trace minerals out of there. So that could be a really good option for you. So yeah, really great question. And also make sure you're salting your food. Salt is really essential. The sodium, we need a healthy sodium potassium balance. Our adrenals need that. Our heart needs that. So really great question. Ooh, what else? Oh, Sarah Lynn here. Maybe Tanya, in terms of vitamin D, should you always be taking it with K? Can you expand on why some sources recommend it?
Yeah, I'm really, really glad you asked that, because we make vitamin D on its own, vitamin K on its own, and then a combined D plus K. We do recommend it together because they work together for the bone building. So vitamin D helps you draw the calcium from your food, especially like your dark leafy greens. And then now it's sitting, and it's got to get where it's got to go. It's got to get to your teeth. My teeth have gotten whiter since taking vitamin K2. It's got to get into your bones, but you actually need K2 to drive it into the bones. So they actually work hand in hand. So thanks for asking that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So yeah, you can definitely get it combined, especially if you're taking a lot of vitamin D, like ongoing. It might make sense that over time you start now combining vitamin D with K2. Linda, what are normal cortisol levels? Okay, well, it's hard to kind of answer because you want to test your cortisol, and that's what's really going to give you the answers there. So I recommend the Dutch test, and that's what we do in our program, in our Dutch hormone program that we do. We test everybody's hormones. And then from there, we give them a really strategic protocol with like supplements and nutrition. Um, Tanya had her Dutch test recently, and that's what she was talking about with her cortisol. I do my Dutch test regularly as well, about every 6 to 8 months. And so on the Dutch test, and why I recommend the Dutch test is because it's a dried urine test and it can really show you hormone metabolites, which you can't actually see through saliva or through blood. So it can just give you really detailed results. But basically what will happen with your cortisol, specifically with the Dutch test, is you will see this cortisol curve. Okay. So naturally, like Tanya said, your cortisol will be a little bit higher in the morning because it's what wakes you up, and your cortisol will be higher. And then, so I want you to think like of these like two bars, and your line is like going naturally right in the middle of those two bars. Okay. So you don't want it too low below the bar, or you don't want it like too high above the bar. You want it right in the middle. So it'll be a little bit higher in the day, and then it's going to have a nice little spike mid morning, afternoon, and it's going to slowly come down. But it's crazy how many of our clients we get their results back, and it's like, and it's like, all over the place. And so looking at that obviously shows us there's a lot of dysregulated cortisol. And so then we can time your supplements specifically to some of these dips and some of these highs. And then obviously there's lots of other adrenal support that can be helpful there. So I mean, I hope that answers the question. Normal cortisol levels is that you're essentially within a healthy range. But even within that range, what does that look like? A lot of people tend to have a mid-afternoon like crash and it goes really low, or they have a morning where it's like way too high. So you just want to bring that into a nice balance. Yeah. So which is why you're taking your adrenal chill in the morning, right? Because your cortisol is high. So we really want to support that spike by nourishing the adrenals and taking the adrenal chill at that time when the cortisol spikes. How long does the adrenal chill take to work? How long do you take it to see results?
Well, okay. I guess I can answer that since I take it. Well, you take it every
Yeah,
day
I
too.
take it too.
Of course, the standard answer would be everybody's different. But even like people in our office, like I hear generally 20 minutes, they're starting to feel like a noticeable, like, oh, I'm not as like tense and, the shoulders are coming down. And yeah, so it may be half an hour for some, and it also might depend on if you have a lot more food in your system and things like that. But I take it on an empty stomach, and yeah, 20 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah. So you're going to experience like almost immediate, right? But the other thing I want to mention here, and for you to keep in mind, is being committed to the journey, being committed to the long-term plan, because sometimes we take something and in the first week or two, it's like, oh yeah, I know, I kind of noticed some stuff. But sometimes within those first 1 to 2 weeks, we don't see the compounding effect. What happens from week 1 to 2 can be very mild, but what happens from week 1 to 4, week 1 to 8, week 1 to 12 is significant. It's this big compounding effect. So sometimes we take something and we're like, oh, it didn't work for me. And it's like, how long did you commit? Because you really want to be in it for the long game, because the compounding effect is what's really, really going to add up there. Okay. Jen, when is the best time to take L-glutamine? I would say anytime. There's no specific, yeah, that doesn't have like an impact on like energy or anything like that. It's not going to impact your sleep. So any time of day, you can really take your L-glutamine.
Mind you, I do know some people believe in taking it at night.
At night? Okay.
Just gives them this little bit of a calming. So, yeah.
That's a good point, because it does impact like mood, and it can be very calming. So maybe at nighttime could be a good time. Amy, I notice way more mood swings, food cravings during my luteal phase, days 15 to 25. What do you recommend for that? Ooh, all kinds of stuff. So magnesium, 5-HTP, omegas, limiting sugar, limiting caffeine. Those are going to be really, really powerful, and really focusing on like parasympathetic type exercise and movement, right? So maybe during that part of your cycle, more yoga or Pilates, like something like that, that's not like too revving for your system. That can be really, really helpful. So I hope that helps, Amy. Okay, there's a lot here. So, oh, someone is asking here, American saffron. I'm not sure if it's
Uh,
um
well,
what is-
well, ours is sourced from Iran.
okay.
All of my Persian friends put it in their rice.
Awesome.
They're so chill and beautiful. But yeah, ours is from Iran.
Amazing. Okay, that's great to know. What supplements would you, whoop, I lost it. Would you recommend to support a young teen, almost 13, no period yet, with mood and anxiety? Oh my, there's so many great things you can do. I mean, diet plays such a huge role here, but at 13, it can be really challenging to like put them on a gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free diet. But there are so many options. I mean, Tanya, you have kids, so what are some suggestions?
Well, definitely magnesium. You can start kids on magnesium from very, infants.
Yeah.
Infants can take magnesium, but always read your label for the dosing. So I think that's probably one of the easiest things. Naturopaths will dose some products down based on the weight of the child. So, 13, you're like almost getting to be a woman. So a naturopath has a certain formula to dose down if you want to take something that is really an adult dose. So you'd have to check with your doctor for that. So things like adrenal chill, like ashwagandha, might be good. My kids are into calming teas.
Oh,
You know,
awesome.
a little bit of honey, and they'll drink pretty much any tea that I give them. I grow sage and dry it, and that's really nice too to get them calm at night.
Lovely.
Um, the other thing is, my daughter has really gotten into baking and some of these more healthy recipes. So imagine, when she says, "Oh, I'm going to go get that oat milk cookie I made," and we sweeten it with a little bit of honey, and we use monk fruit or stevia, and then they feel good that they baked it, they made it, and it's fairly healthy. Put in the sesame seeds, the chia seeds, the hemp seeds, and all of a sudden it's like this really great breakfast cookie.
Amazing. I love that. Also, I would add in some omega 3s. Like omegas are so essential and like you can take that again from infancy. So, omegas are so great. It's going to fuel their brain. It's going to support hormonal balance, and hormone health. And even probiotics, again, because it plays such a big role on moods and digestion. And then if you can't really change their diet and if there's too much sugar going on, at least you're supporting the microbiome with some really good probiotics. So, yeah, like Tanya said, magnesium for sure. Potentially some adrenal chill, just maybe monitoring the dose around that, and then omegas and probiotics. Those would be some really great ones. Absolutely. All right, should we take maybe one more question? My God, there's so many. Can this webinar be watched somewhere? My friend had a meeting and couldn't attend. Oh, I think there's a replay that's going to be sent out. Yes. I think so. Okay. Do you recommend blue blocking glasses? Ooh, I have blue blocking glasses. I'm not wearing them right now because I would look like the Terminator and I would look really funny on camera. But blue blockers are amazing. So if you spend a lot of time in front of the computer and just under artificial light, blue blockers are essential, especially if you're watching TV at night or you're on your device at night. You want to block out that blue light because it can impact melatonin production and then that's going to impact your sleep. And so if you're watching TV at night, wear your blue blockers. If you're at your computer during the day, definitely wear them. I really do encourage them. It's funny because I have these like red ones. They're like the strong, heavy duty ones, but everything that you look at when you're wearing them is red. It's black and red. So you see like no color really. And so I was wearing it at night, and the very first night that I wore it, I fell asleep in like 6 minutes. And then the second night that I wore it, same thing. I fell asleep in like 6, 7 minutes. But after that, that didn't happen. I had good sleep, but I just couldn't get used to wearing them at night because literally everything was like black and red, and it kind of threw me off. So, but yeah, that's a really good question.
I'm just looking at the chat. There's a question that says, "Is there a post-menopause supplement to increase sex drive?"
Oh,
And
yes.
actually, we've been talking about it tonight. So actually, I don't know if you can see that adrenal chill, which we've talked about. has a Health Canada approved claim for sexual health, and in layman's terms, it's libido. So this is really great for libido. We talk about it more in women's terms with this product, so give it a try. But regularly,
Amazing.
this isn't the 20-minute one. This one, I think you're going to have to take it a little more regularly.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that, Tanya. Natalie was asking me here, where is your book available and what is your Instagram again, please? Yes. So come find me and connect with me. I'll put it in the chat box here at Holistic Wellness Foodie on Instagram. You can find me there. I post lots of great recipes, lots of great content. You can always, reach out and ask me your questions there. We have lots of great programs that we work with our clients with. And my book is available everywhere books are sold. Maybe you can't go physically to the bookstore right now, but online, Amazon, Indigo, it's available. So yeah, thank you so much for asking that. Anything else? Tanya, do you want to answer one more question?
There's a question there about zinc.
Yeah.
Can zinc be taken daily or should that be cycled? So, this is a mineral that you can have tested, but our zinc products are generally around 25 milligrams a day, and so that should be safe. But then look at what other products you're taking might have zinc. If you're sick, your naturopath is probably going to tell you to take double for a time. Okay, but for now, sticking to about 25 milligrams, they're just tiny little white tablets, not tablets, sorry, capsules. And what we like to do is open that little capsule of zinc and gargle with it. It gives you actually a physical protection against some pathogens.
Great tip. I love that. I have not done that. Okay, I'm totally going to do that. I keep saying one more question, but there's so many. I'm like, just one more, just one more. There's this really good one. Crystal, what can we do to get a full night's sleep and not wake up in the middle of the night? I've tried almost everything. Um, for sleep habits, routine, magnesium, GABA, adrenal support. Okay, so this is where testing really matters because we want to see what's going on with your cortisol levels so that we could really target it strategically. And then also maybe looking at testing like blood sugar as well. That's gonna be key. So this is where testing is really key. Hormone testing. Let's look at estrogen. Let's look at progesterone. Let's look at your DHEA. On the Dutch test, it actually tests your melatonin. It does test your, so which is really great because maybe it's too low. So this is where testing is really going to matter because it can really help you to get very targeted and strategic. Okay, I hope that helps. Anything else? I know you're looking through all the questions.
There are quite a few.
Yes. There's
Somebody has MS and talked about like how can they safely do immune building, but if you're on medication, you're really going to have to talk to your healthcare team about it. Our biggest immune boosting product is called Cold Pro, and it contains zinc and a variety of things, and it really helps to work on your white cell count increase. So some people don't want that if they have an autoimmune condition, but for general, the Cold Pro is my go-to.
awesome. That's fantastic. Um, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Ayla. I've been supplementing with magnesium. I love it, but now I have a hard time staying asleep. So falling asleep is easier, but now waking up around 3 or 4. Okay, so again, try the 5-HTP because the 5-HTP can actually help with staying asleep. So I would definitely give it a try and combine that with your magnesium. You can do 1 or 2 capsules with your magnesium before bed. So I like to do 2 capsules of 5-HTP and 2 capsules of magnesium. That's typically how I do it. And just play around with that and see. And if that isn't the thing that's helping, you might need to give it, a good 3 weeks to really see. Maybe it will start sooner. For me, it was pretty immediate. And again, outside of that, it might be something to look into in terms of testing and just diving in a little bit further to see what's going on there.
I know someone asked about taking a break from supplements. So many of our products will say after 3 months, take a break, or after 3 months, check back in with your healthcare practitioner. So around 3 or 4 months is sort of a time to reassess something new that you've been trying. Um, personally, I can't do without like Sam said, like she doesn't miss her magnesium. You can try to miss it, but I've tried it. I will get a bit crampy, or I'll wake up in the night, that kind of thing. So I think if you're really deficient for something, you don't take a break from it until you know you're really well in the zone. So I'm just always kind of average with my vitamin D. I'm darker skinned. I need more vitamin D. So I'm not taking a break from my vitamin D. Anything else, Sam?
I think we're good there. I mean, we could probably just stay on here forever because there's so many people, and I so appreciate everybody being here and asking questions. Oh my God, like as I keep looking, there's just so many questions I want to keep answering. What is your thoughts on the birth control pill impacting hormones? And what are the best supplements to support this? Yeah, I mean, come follow me over on Instagram at Holistic Wellness Foodie, because I post a lot there about the birth control pill and hormones. And I actually do have an ebook on my website called, I think it's like the Ditch the Pill guide. And, hormonal contraceptive is you're taking synthetic hormones. So and I talk a lot about it in my book as well, the 30-day hormone solution. So when you're imposing those synthetic hormones on your body, you're shutting down ovulation from working. Your ovaries aren't producing their own estrogen and progesterone. So there's this belief that we're taking the pill to regulate our cycle, and in fact it's actually not. It's doing the complete opposite. So zinc and magnesium and all of these things are really essential if you're on the pill, because the pill really depletes these nutrients. So I would definitely dive into the book or grab the ebook, and it will give you either book, either whether the ebook or the book will give you some really great strategies for ditching the pill and really get you on a strategic supplement protocol to address that. All right.
Yeah, and I don't want to, we are obviously going to miss a few questions tonight. Ask Tanya at camprev.ca, Tanya with a Y. Ask Tanya at camprev.ca, and either myself, or if I get overwhelmed, one of my team members who's very knowledgeable will help to answer those. So we don't, if we didn't get to your question, and if you don't see the answers in some way, shape, or form, be in touch with us.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah. And then when the replay goes out tomorrow, um, maybe we can just include the CanPrev handles, Instagram handles, my handle, and then you guys can connect with me there as well. Yeah, and connect with Tanya and the CanPrev team. Thank you everybody so much for being with us tonight. And I want to hear what your takeaway is going to be. So if you want to share that with me over on Instagram, you can. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that you've learned a lot. And thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thank you, Tanya.
We might do this again. So if you guys keep encouraging us, we'll be doing this from time to time. Keep smiling. Hug yourself if nobody else is giving you hugs. And we love you all. Have a great evening.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you, everybody. And share your ideas. If there's a webinar topic you'd love for us to dive into, let us know, and we can create that for you. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Have a great night.